We are live. Hello, everyone. We are live with our second watch party of the year. I am joined with Mad Matt for this adventure across the nation. Welcome, Mad Matt.
How are we doing? Great to be here. Interesting experience to be on this side of the screen.
Yes, it is. It takes some getting used to. But this is a family fun adventure for all ages, family road trip, start your engines, and why don't you introduce the movie, Matt, and count us down?
Okay. We're about to watch Death Race 2000 from 1975, the dear favorite of mine. If everyone's got their engines gunning, we're going to give a traditional racetrack countdown. So, on your mark, get set, go!
All right, now we should be. It was starting about 15 seconds in, and so
Sure, got 5.
let's introduce. Oh, go ahead.
Yep, I'm just saying, Death Race 2000. We're going to start off introducing the world again. This is a dystopian future as seen the year 2000 from 1975 perspective.
And it's very interesting that it still feels like 1975, but this is their dystopian version of what life is going to be like in the year 2000.
As I like it was described as being, it looks very futuristic and really old at the same time.
Yes, exactly. And all right, well, why don't I take a look at the chat and we'll see who's with us today. Let's see, we have Miss Swift, Alex Peacock, and we have old Johnny Devick, James Hellier. Welcome, my friend, who was here last week. Thank you, James. Who probably got a little bit cheated because I did choose the movie for last week. So this week, Matt chose the movie. And what I'd like to do is have James come back with the movie of his choice. So
Yep.
we'll make up for that. So Calbot's here. Let's see who else is here. Edward the Black Prince is there over in Discord. Eric, Alex Peacock is over in Discord as well. We've got a fine group today. Thank you all for coming.
Yep, and this was a follow-up from our watch parties. We chose a poll for Roger Corman movies, probably around the time he passed away, and Death Race 2000 was the winner. So I was really
Yes.
looking forward to that. Glad we can carry on and do it today.
Yep, we have a whole bunch of movies to get through, and
Yeah. Now here we've got all the introduction to our characters. So here we have Mary Woronov, Calamity Jane. We've seen her. She's a staple actor in Roger Corman movies. We've seen her several times in our own watch parties. She was Night of the Comet, Chopping Mall, Terror Vision, Warlock. And we're also if we've got bingo cards going, we need cameos. So we're about to get our first cameo. As here as we see the introduction to Frankenstein as he's wheeled in on a gurney. And the doctor wheeling him in happens to be the director of the movie, Paul Bartel.
and he was chosen by Roger Corman to direct this movie, I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting to try to work through all the connections that go through the years because you always see the little groups of friends, doing favors for each other when they're making all these movies.
Yes. Well, as that announcer likes to say, a very dear friend of mine. I think this movie is full of very dear friends of mine.
And also, yeah, interesting is we're seeing like the beginnings of like a media influencer as all the media here is represented, but remembering that this this movie is now 50 years old, and we're seeing it still what's going on with our current culture.
Well, it is interesting to do deep dives on dystopian movies like this and their vision. We have the director's and writer's vision of what a future would be. And remember back in the 70s, that was quite a time. I remember a bit of the 70s and what life was like. So you can kind of see based on what they were living through, how they would come up with a story like this.
Now, here we have this character here. If everyone is again old enough to remember, Fred Grandy playing here Herman the German. That I think he goes on from this movie to become the beloved gopher on the Love Boat.
And anybody remember the Love Boat? That was Saturday night TV. I remember. Yeah, James Hellier, only Nixon could go to China. He was the first and only president, I believe, at the time to go to China.
Now this actor is this is a new discovery for me because I didn't follow any of this, but I don't know who recognizes Martin Kove here playing Nero the Hero, because he's went on in the 80s. He continued on doing movies, but more well known to our current TV viewers, because he went on he was John Kreese in The Karate Kid, and he's continuing that role in the Cobra Kai series. He's the leader of Cobra Kai.
So who has not seen this movie before? Anybody out there? And if this is your first time, you are in for an adventure. This is not your typical Cannonball Run road race. This is like Cannonball Run, ramped up quite a bit.
Right. That was the other thing too. That what was really, the hot movies at the time here in the 70s were all the car race themes, because you had this Smokey and the Bandit, Corvette Summer with Mark Hamill. Everything was cars.
Oh, and here we go, Joe. Everybody, this is pre-Rocky. Yo, Adrian.
Yep. A year before Rocky. The interesting thing which calls us back to last week's watch party was we brought up Lords of Flatbush, which Sylvester Stallone starred in, and that's what brought Stallone to the attention of Roger Corman. He had seen him in Lords of the Flatbush, and that's why he's cast in this movie.
In his early acting days out in Hollywood, and this was probably around the time that he had been working on the Rocky script, or he had finished it and was peddling it in Hollywood.
Yep, he was writing it at this time. That's it was the Mary Woronov in the commentaries said she was talking to him, and he was telling her all about the script he was writing about a movie about a boxer, and she was like, "Oh boy, that's gonna do well." And now we have David Carradine. He's just coming off of his role in Kung Fu, Kwai Chang, the grasshopper. So that had just finished, and then again taking this role to kind of like break the image of him as Kwai Chang in Kung Fu.
So I must have seen that show in reruns, because I remember that show as a kid, and I always thought it was just the first run shows, but it must have been reruns.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Calbot says,
early.
yeah, Martin Cove was also a regular on Cagney and Lacey. That's where I remember him from.
Right.
Oh, James Hellier says Stallone was encouraged to write his own dialogue in this by Paul
Yes.
Bartel.
Yeah.
I believe it
He
because his dialogue does seem very genuine to his character, and he keeps it real. So, if anyone can imagine having a race today,
yep.
um, where they are encouraging points by the number of pedestrians you mow over, and you get points based on their age, their sex. What is it? Their age, the sex, and is it whether they are disabled or not, or just the age and the sex?
It just was, yeah, broken down. Yeah. And
Yeah,
there's even discrepancies there because they say women are worth 10 points more than men in every category. And then they say old people, regardless of age or sex, are worth 100 points. And you're like, okay, you guys already forgot the own rules of your movie here.
yep. Yeah, and
But
then babies are like 100 points. I think that's right, or 50 points.
yeah, toddlers, 70 points.
Yep. So I had rewatched this movie last night, and one of the things I noticed was the lack of anybody else on the roads, which would make
Right.
sense if you're living in this dystopian times. You stay off the road.
This is the same. They're having the same problems here, like when they made Night of the Comet, because that was also filmed in Los Angeles, and they managed to capture like complete isolation of a society in regular normal busy hours. And here I'm thinking the same thing because this is all the area I grew up. This is the freeways, in the San Fernando Valley. I'm thinking one of them at the time was under construction, which gave them a little more leeway to film. But in the earlier scenes, when they start the race, they're actually filming that at a racetrack while races are in progress, and they got permission to, like, in whatever how many few minutes of downtime they had, to wheel all their car out, roll the cameras, and then get them off the track because here come the racers, the real ones.
Right.
And this is, of course, funny. They're showing that they're all starting off here from New York City, but all the scenery is obviously Southern California.
Yeah. But I find it interesting. Cannonball Run has the same kind of theme. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but here they diverge from it because the drivers take their own route. Here you take whatever road you want, which keeps everybody in America on their guard because you never know when these crazed lunatics are going to come down your road. Oh, so now we're introduced to the resistance,
Yep.
who are totally against everything the government stands for. So we get a sense of, at this time, what has happened to our government, how it's run. And we have our little rebels.
Yeah, it's always, again, to see the sentiments from the 70s here that, yeah, like all politicians are corrupt and you need to rise up and defeat them. And they go, that's never seems to change.
Yeah. Old Johnny Devick says this makes me think of the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, very much so.
Right. That's another point too, is knowing all the themes of these old movies, because that would also, in the 80s we get Running Man, so that's another dystopian future where they're using, like a gladiatorial arena to appease the people, and that's the same thing as, yeah, the government's always like using the tactics to distract the public. So it's always the
Right.
same thing. We can see that here where everybody's watching the game and going. It's like, and then you have huge controversy that occurs during those scenes is like, what's actually going on in the background that we needed to cause this big a distraction?
Right. And they're using the power of media, television, to pipe this into everybody's home, just like they did in Running Man. They made it a spectacle. They made it a show. Um, this is entertainment. Oh, they just happen to be there working on the road. Happen to
Yep.
be there. And we have our first kill. Junior's just a little bit too excited, don't you think?
Yep. Yes. Now this actor, Don Steele, I think, yeah, he had a regular radio program, and he shows up. He's generally cast to do the radio announcer, the DJ, and then always going on to like here he's Junior Bruce, but he goes on. He's in Rock and Roll High School. His character is Screaming Steve, and then we hear him but don't see him in Gremlins when he's cast as the radio announcer, and there he's rocking Ricky. We see just a poster of him in like the opening of Gremlins. There's a giant poster talking about the radio station, and it's got him in a cartoon depiction, looking like Indiana Jones.
Very
and never
interesting.
seen the movie, but you hear him in the background. Yeah, he's broadcasting when he's attacked by the Gremlins. And then
And
again,
he
that's
was,
going to like who? Because I think Gremlins is a Joe Dante movie, I believe.
right.
And then it's like, oh yeah, again, where do they keep pulling these core actors from all their friends and buddies? Keep doing favors for each other.
And you find that prevalent in a lot of the filmmakers, even today. They use their
Right.
the go-to actors, the go-to writers, the go-to collaborators.
And that's
Um,
as you start looking through all the little bit characters in this movie, and then discover like they didn't hire a bunch of extras, they didn't hire a bunch of actors. They're the screenwriter. They're going like, hey, you're not busy. Come over here and be in the movie. Because, like I said, we've already seen the director doing his role as the doctor. We'll have another one coming up soon. A lot of calling in a lot of favors, and that's again how they get these low budget pictures made.
yeah. Okay,
Yep,
so
there we
we're
got our
we're seeing this.
breakdown of
We're
one
seeing the
award.
scoring process here too. So I find something very interesting is the people that are worth more points to knock off are the ones that the government at this time would want to get rid of.
Right.
The old are 100 points, kids under 12 are 70. Yeah, say what you will. We could have a debate about that. But they really do make an interesting point here that the people that are over 75 are with 100 points. So knock them off.
Yep. Here's another cameo that I just learned this fact just today. I just learned who this guy is playing the bullfighter is Louis Teague, and he's the assistant director on this movie. But he goes on to be a director himself later in the 80s. He directed, it was Cujo, Cat's Eye, and Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah. Okay, so James Hellier brought up a question. Why would the government want to kill children? Because in this dystopian version, they are just going to be nothing but a drain on society if they go on to live a long and healthy life. So that would be my depiction. And so here we have at Mercy Hospital, Euthanasia Day.
Yep. That's where all the race fans have helped. They're going to help push the score here.
Well, Frankenstein doesn't see it that way. He could have easily gotten about 800 points there, I think, or 700, I think. Yeah, 700
They're
points.
going to talk, interesting strategy.
Well, Later on, we'll figure out why. But right now, you kind of think maybe, well, maybe he didn't want to mow down those old people. Oh, Miss Swift, that's a good one. Youth in Asia Day. Oh yes, Alex Peacock says nice red paint there. Yeah, it's very obvious it's not very good stage blood in this movie, but yeah, we get the point. I think there's one scene later on that it's just as obvious as can be that it's red paint, but it's
Yeah,
still a lot of fun.
that's too where the decisions there too. Listening to the Roger Corman commentary is again they didn't have a huge budget to do a lot of gore. They want gore in the movie, but it's also running they're trying to balance horror and comedy. And so they're giving you the gore, but then immediately cutting away from it. And it's like, is that, again, to keep the tone of the film in order, but also keep the special effects within budget.
Well, that's what makes these kind of movies fun is the low budget. It's obviously low budget, but we still enjoy it for what it is.
That
And
too, yeah. It's always, yeah. For growing up there, it's like when I'm watching me growing up watching the low budget movies gave me an incentive like, hey, I could do that. Whether
yeah,
then you see the big budget spectaculars and like, well, I could never make a movie.
right.
Yeah. Here we have the baby bomb.
We have the baby. So interesting. Now we have editing out that because they don't want the audience to know what happened. But you can't fake that because as Alex Peacock says, never figured out where the cameras are following the racers, which is interesting that I would think the cameras are just in the cars. If the cameras were on the roadways, they would know there's this scene being set up. The baby isn't real. Um, so they would know. So the cameras would have to just be in the vehicles capturing all of their kills, I would assume. And it would be very easy then to trick the American public or the world public, whoever's watching, and you cut away from a scene and then put in whatever else you want to put in. That is unlike The Running Man, where I think they had basically cameras all throughout the city, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
and
it's
they
got a
could
lot
track
of
your movements.
yeah, it's got some parallels to the modern. I know when they recently had the races in Las Vegas, they like blocked out all the put up walls and stuff. And they didn't want the spectators who didn't pay for the race to see it. But then everyone figured out they could just hack into the traffic cams and watch the races on the traffic cams from the city.
James Hellier made a comment. Joe Dante always says Corman never got this film. He kept wanting to edit out the humor to the frustration of Paul Bartel. Is how true, really? That's pretty much Roger Corman, and you have the director at odds. It's not inconceivable. And Paul Bartel wanted to make a certain movie. Corman wanted it his vision. So someone
Yeah,
obviously didn't get their way.
that brings up from where this movie is based on the story entitled "The Racer" by Ib Melker, and that is just a bare bones idea of the road race and pedestrian kills. It's barely part of the story. So that's where they're taking that story, and again, where it's getting the Roger Corman twist going, well, that's got a good idea, but it's never gonna make a good movie. So then, we take that bare bones idea and then add all the pageantry, all the goofy characters, all the crazy cars, all the violence, the political, the politics of these. That's all, like, yeah, Roger Corman just throwing into the blender.
And at the time it came out in 75, does anybody in the chat know, or does Matt know, how well it did? Was it released in a lot of theaters at the time? Because this was pre Blockbuster VHS rentals. So it would have to have been in the movie theaters. So does anybody know
That
how well it did?
Yeah, from Roger Corman's, the commentary there saying this is like New World Pictures is just, barely, brand new, about, 3 years in, and it was saying that this was a very successful film for them. And he said even the idea they had, just getting it marketed, they just took in they had, I think the cars were designed by Dean Jeffries, so they just had some artist sketch work, and that's all they took with them to say, it's like, here, we want to make this movie, and it's going to have all these really cool cars in it, and it got greenlit, saying, awesome, do it. I want to see that.
Yeah, James Hellier said it was aimed at drive-ins. Oh yeah, 8 million box office versus 300,000 budget. Oh, long live the drive-ins.
Yep. And now we get the big wigs dropping in to say, okay, this is how we're going to tell the story.
A dear friend of mine. She has so many dear friends.
That's a good, and her character's name is Grace Pander, so.
Yeah, Alex Peacock and the Roger Corman casual nudity begins. And some say not so casual.
Yeah, this is crossing a few lines here.
Let's hear it from the chat. I think we might have discussed this in one of the previous watch parties. Favorite Roger Corman film? Does anybody have one that just jumps out at them? So are they on Route 66? Wait, the pit stop in St. Louis. I don't know if Route 66 goes that way, does it?
I wouldn't be familiar with that.
Oh. Or maybe at the time, I think it might have changed. Okay, maybe it did go through St. Louis. Chicago to Santa Monica. Okay, what do we got? Responses. Johnny Devick, Battle Beyond the Stars. Um, let's see, Calbot, A Bucket of Blood. James Hellier, Mask of the Red Death. How many films has Roger Corman been attributed to? Does anybody know? There's a lot to choose from. Alex is now on the Corman IMDb dive. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a book written titled something like, yeah, how to make a movie on a dime. About how prolific Roger Corman films are.
Yeah. So Alex Peacock says at least 491 as a producer. That's about
Yeah.
right. He had his hands in a lot of movies.
Yep. And starting the careers of many people there. I know it was like Ron Howard. That was that Grand Theft Auto?
Um, yeah, one of his other. I don't know if it was Grand Theft Auto.
Something to do with dust. I can't. I'm seeing dust. The word dust in my head, and nothing else forming around it.
Yeah, it was Grand Theft Auto. Okay,
Okay.
way back when. So I find interesting the scene that just passed. That gal that is in love with Frankenstein. Um,
Yeah. So
um,
the scene of the fanatic cult mentality.
yep, and you see that a lot today too. Um, there are. Let's just say that when I do my true crime deep dives, and the evildoers are finally incarcerated, inevitably they have a cult following, and they have women left and right writing them letters and basically professing their love. And I just find it very peculiar, very odd. And I would like to say I get it, but I don't.
Yeah. So we're also seeing a little bit of a foreshadowing in the movie here is the cult member had seemed to have a lot of inside information, and Frankenstein had a lot of questions, like he doesn't know what's going on, and that'll make sense later in the movie as we come to the end.
Yes, Calbot in the Discord chat, that's exactly right. Frankenstein. I'm Dr. Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein is a classic comedy. Oh, James Hellier. So, who is your favorite serial killer? Like, my favorite, as in I love to study, because I have a background in investigations and law enforcement. I think the most interesting of lately is probably Zodiac. Um, I've also, some of the ones that they caught, um, Jeffrey McDonald, the Green Beret killer, who is a family annihilator. That is a very interesting character study. But I think Zodiac is one of the most fascinating ones, and they have yet to really concretely identify him, although there are suspicions. So, who in the chat also follows like true crime drama? Not to get away from the movie, of course, because we just had a very intimate scene with Frankenstein and the Navigator. Ah, Matt, this is a very interesting scene. They have this religious figure who is what blessing the race as they go on their second leg. And before, when we were tallying up the scores for pedestrians, they make no mention of religious affiliation. And here's where the rules change. Alex Peacock mentions Patton Oswalt's late wife's book on the Golden State Killer. Fascinating stuff. I've read that book a couple times and followed that case. James Hellier mentioned Bundy or Gein. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Yeah, they probably the most significant for cinema, or John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy's been he's had movies and documentaries on him. So yes, James Hellier, no separation between church and state here. This is exactly when religion enters the race, and now it's anyone's game. You can go after anybody. Matt, this is crazy. This is how she shows her love for Frankenstein.
This is also, this actress is also the director's sister. Is this a cameo or just another favor? It's like, hey, are you busy? Come be in my movie.
Well, you know what? What was the budget? I think we were talking about 300,000 budget.
Yeah.
When you have just a little bit of money, you've got to be creative. And you're calling up family, hey, what are you doing tomorrow?
Now, this is interesting because this group of characters, these old guys who are pretending to be teenagers, they're called the Chicken Gang. And this is supposed to be a Dick Miller cameo, but I don't see it. IMDb credits Dick Miller as uncredited, and I'm like, none of these guys are Dick Miller. So if anyone can,
I think it was the first guy to go down in the hole, maybe.
yeah. And I just watched the Roger Corman commentary, and he didn't notice it. He didn't know who any of these people were.
That was a nice kill. I mean, I must say, as far as movie kills go, that was pretty original. The guys down in the manhole. So we have Rocky Balboa in second place in notoriety, in second place in the race. Very unhappy. He wants to be the golden child. He wants to beat Frankenstein and win it all and win the hearts of everybody. And you can tell he's really pissed off. Okay, Calbot says none of these guys were Dick Miller, but it certainly looked like him.
Yeah, I've watched the several. I'm like, nope, it's none of them. But he's credited. Yeah, IMDb has credit for him in this movie, and I do not agree.
It sort of looked like him, but it was so brief.
Because Dick Miller's that guy. You know him instantly, and I'm like, nope.
He's in everything. And the second he turns up, you say, I know that guy.
Yep.
There was a mention before about Thomasina Payne. Whether that was intentional, that was a very intentional name in this movie.
Yes. But they're trying to give us a political drama, but there isn't much, you know, explanation into it. You just go along with it, going, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
they have a beef with the government. We'll just watch the show.
Right. Well, you kind of get a sense that the president is governing from, where did they say he was? Um,
He's in Peking. He's got a palace in Peking.
yeah, so he's ruling from Peking. He's not even in the States. And you kind of get the feeling that that's how he's running the country and just letting it degrade to this without much of a history, but you go along for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another good movie in the same time in the '70s called Americathon, dealing with the same thing that and again the real world crisis, like the gas crisis at this time, and but that everybody thought the world was ending, and so you got a lot of dystopian movies. But Americathon, as John Ritter is the president, and America has gone broke, so they have to have a telethon to raise money for America. That's an interesting one to maybe later put in on the watch list.
That is a very interesting one. I saw that either it must have been in the movie theater.
And it's one of the same thing. If people are familiar with Idiocracy,
Yeah.
that
And I
it
remember
follows that kind of theme.
it was a very comical, interesting movie. But
Yep,
yeah,
and it's
I couldn't
also
even tell you if that was available
yep,
to stream these days or on video.
that I know. I'm pretty sure I found a copy of it at some point in time. I believe I own it. It's also got a very early appearance by Meatloaf. So it's
Interesting.
got to be around. I'd have to compare what time frame that was with him in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, if it's around the same period.
Alex Peacock, John Ritter will never not be Three's Company to me. That's what I remember him from too. I grew up on that. And all the classic sitcoms, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Three's Company, you name it. Oh, over in Discord, Eric is mentioning you have some great stuff in the background, Matt, your collection.
It took me. I had to set up my little makeshift studio here, and that was the primary focus. Is not me, not my performance. It's like let's get my collectibles on showcase.
There you go. And I am broadcasting from my storm shelter slash basement slash office.
Yeah, I'm liking. Here Calbot is pointing out the Howard Cosell parody from the one older announcer there, and it's like, yes, there's some of us who remember Howard Cosell
Howard
and can
Cosell.
appreciate the parodies here, and then that of course brings out the movie Better Off Dead. That's got some race car enthusiasm with a Howard Cosell parody as well.
Better Off Dead. I want my $2.
There we go. I met John Cusack, and I made him sign a $2 bill. He didn't
Oh,
seem happy. He didn't
lucky
seem happy
you.
about it, but I was like, I got my $2 signed by John Cusack.
One of his other classics was Gross Point Blank.
Mm-hmm.
If any of you guys are familiar with that, that's another John Cusack film I love.
And here, this one I quote quite often. This line here: "No one scores my navigator and gets away with it." Me and my friends use it all the time in the most ridiculous. But any opportunity to drop that line, that's a good one for me. Yep. And if someone didn't think this movie was silly, we're about to watch
Oh,
it
it
reach
is
it.
so silly.
We got to watch it reach this peak here as we take out one of the cars here in a very interesting method.
It's a very Roadrunner Coyote
Exactly.
cartoon way.
Looney Tunes way to go out.
Yes. So she Calamity Jane?
Uh,
The
Calamity
gal
Jane
about
is
the
in the cowboy hat and with the bull. The car is the bull, and we're coming up on Matilda the Hun in the Buzz
Matilda.
Bomb.
Yes. This is a Roadrunner Looney Tunes absolute playbook out of Looney Tunes.
And we got a yeah. Sure, they bought this cardboard brick wall from Acme itself.
Yeah, she fell for it.
Yeah. Now we have to put an F in the chat for Matilda the Hun and Herman the German. They are no more.
So Don Steele, was he on the radio out in LA?
I would assume so. Looking a few things up here. I looked up, like I said, I knew I knew him from obviously from Death Race, and then enough to get the reference when he's in Gremlins, which nobody, how many other people where it's like we got like, oh, I know that guy. He was in Death Race, and they're like, what's Death Race? And what are you talking about? The guy, because he's not even on screen. You just hear him as the radio announcer. And then I was looking it up, and they couldn't see much information on his actual. But yeah, I believe that he was a DJ. And again, it's another one of back then in the '70s that I'd be more familiar with was Wolfman Jack. So Wolfman Jack was a radio DJ, and then became you know a lot of cameos in movies. I think American Graffiti.
And if you didn't see him in the movies, you certainly heard him because he had that
Exactly.
very familiar voice. I grew up on him too. So the plot twist. Very interesting plot twist. He put her behind the wheel and she couldn't do it. But what I think is interesting is his natural reaction right now should be to run her over. So you start to have sympathy for him. He didn't run her over, and he knows she's a spy. So David Carradine has had quite an interesting career. For anybody not familiar with the Kung Fu show, very interesting show. And one of his last appearances I saw was Kill Bill.
Right. it's like I said, where again he ended kung fu, and then it's like he wanted to break away from that character, but looking over his filmography, he just seems to be brought back more in as characters. You know, everyone like he ended up basically getting typecast because he's all doing a lot of cameo appearances or starring in roles that are very similar to the kung fu character.
Yeah. Yeah, James
And
Hilliard
that's
Grasshopper. Yeah, that was his name in the show. So we are down to the two drivers, right? We've got Frankenstein, Joe, and I'm drawing a blank on her name because Matilda the Hun.
Calamity
Yeah,
Jane. So we're
Calamity.
down to three.
Yep, down to three.
Three out
Okay. I got two words for Joe. Napkin. I found this like the funniest scene.
of the guy who just really enjoys his clam sauce.
This is hysterical. And he's got a
And
napkin right
yep.
there.
And, and then again, knowing that Sylvester Stallone wrote some of his own lines and stuff. Is this is this just him going? This is what I want the character to do, and don't tell me otherwise.
Exactly. But he does play the character very well.
Now, like as we're watching, like the legacy of these actors go on, but I just recently watched because we have Stallone, showing up in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies as one of the Ravagers. He's in, prominently in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I'm watching younger generations reacting to that movie, and their response to Stallone was like, "Hey, who's that old guy? I think he's famous." And I'm like, "Oh no, really? So we've
Yeah.
already forgotten Stallone."
Well, these guys that we've grown up on have aged just like we have. But he's had quite a career. I mean, he is not a stupid man at all. And I remember back in the Rocky days, he just plays this innocent character that a lot of people would say he's stupid, but no, he's not.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the other interesting thing, doing my research to look at, I said this, predates, both Rocky and Rambo, like his two most famous characters. But looking at the movie releases, he wasn't um, Rambo until Rocky 3 had already come out.
And does anybody else remember there was the Stallone Schwarzenegger feud, sort of a feud. They were both muscle men. They were both making the movies and both having very successful careers. And there was that rivalry.
Yeah, we get that in that bit in Demolition Man, where Stallone gets
Yeah.
to take a poke at Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Miss Swift mentions the last action hero. Yeah, um, that was early in Schwarzenegger's career, I believe, one of his first movies. Yeah, Johnny Devick mentions Arnold has better movies overall. Stallone has quite some bad ones. Yeah, that's an interesting debate. And then there was also the debate on who's the better actor. I think certainly Stallone outshines Schwarzenegger in his Rocky performance.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's like when they cast Stallone in Judge Dredd, and
Yeah.
you've got Judge Dredd going. It's like, oh yeah, Judge Dredd is a character who was like, it was never seen, and barely says a word. I'm going, that's a pretty good role for Stallone. And then
Yeah.
Stallone plays the entire movie unmasked and won't shut the hell up.
Oh, James Hellier mentioned Last Action Hero was late 90s. Why was I thinking it was in the 80s? Time flies. Late 90s. So, yeah, he's already had quite a successful career.
We've got our obligatory fight scene going on.
So, yeah, we've got. Oh, yeah, this is the scene after he gets the crap beat out of him, where he's got a lot of blood on his face. That is obviously paint. Oh boy, I can see in the chat there's the debate on Stallone and Schwarzenegger. This is a very short movie compared to what we've been watching. This is less than an hour and a half, and it just packs a lot of information in a short period of time.
Yeah, that seemed to be the standard for a while, was the 90-minute runtime. And that again was like a demand on the theaters, how many times they could get people, in and out in a day. How many people can we get in to see this movie? You got to get those short run times. But now everything's pushing like the 3 hour mark.
Right. And when they put this in the drive-in, I think you could have, 3 showings. Easy.
And then I think a lot of time I remember most, yeah, my theater going, everything was a double feature.
Mhm.
So
I
you got
remember
not
those
only
days.
get people in, but you've got to rotate the film. That's back in the day before all the multiplex. So you got to watch multiple films on one screen.
And then movies would stay in the theaters for months at a time. So where's the pit stop? So they went from St. Louis to where?
Is this the Albuquerque?
Are they in Albuquerque now? I think so.
I think Albuquerque is the last stop before Los Angeles. And now I gotta get everyone in the chat to now check out the mechanic pushing the car here behind Myra, because I believe this is the John Landis cameo. But he's got such his wild '70s bushy hair and mustache. It's hard to. And I couldn't find the. Usually I would check these up, and there'd be dozens of photos to back me up on it, and I could find absolutely nothing on this movie. But John Landis is listed in the credits as the mechanic, and I do believe that is him, the bushy-eyed, black-haired guy about to meet his demise.
Look closer, you'll miss him. Quick, quick, don't blink. Well, it is hard to tell because I don't think he at any point looked directly in the camera.
Right. But just again for all the people, it's like I said, because he actually gets the screen credit. So,
Yeah. Oh, this guy has way too much energy to announce this race. That's some energy. He just killed him. Good for you.
thank you, Miss Swift, for getting the obvious Albuquerque reference.
Yep. Yep. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque.
That's like again, all my knowledge of a lot of the older movies from 40s and 50s are all attributed to Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Well, they had a lot of references that kids missed.
Yep.
So I get the feeling a lot of those Looney Tunes were not geared towards kids.
Oh no. That and the Bullwinkle cartoons, yeah. Watch those as an adult with a whole brand new perspective.
Yep.
And a lot of times that's the same with like most science fiction pictures and stuff. It's people who had some sort of an agenda, or a political scene that would be censored and not allowed. You sneak it into a cartoon, and everyone's like, the kids will love it. Well, sure, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a grown-up, you should go back and watch a lot of those Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons too.
Yep.
And I can't believe, I enjoyed them as a kid, never even got those references. Okay, so car versus landmine coming up.
Now we've pulled out all the, we're getting to the end of the movie, so whatever is left in the budget, let's spend it now.
Yep.
We even get a prototype airplane as in this.
I think at that moment she said, "Oh shit, let me get out of here."
Yep. No time to rest.
Yep.
But then we're playing here a will she, won't she? Oh. Oh.
Yep.
Kaboom.
All right, so now we're down to 2. Place your bets. Place your bets.
And that's the thing is, did they actually destroy the car? Because these cars, the Monster Mobile and Calamity Jane's car, the Bull, are later seen in the movie Earth Girls Are Easy. Just
the actual
randomly on the set, and then again becomes a question: are those the actual cars from the movie, or are they reproductions? And I think probably at least one of them's a reproduction, if not both. But that's just another fun thing for me being a fan of Death Race to watch Earth Girls Are Easy going, hey, did we just drive by the Monster Mobile? And yes, we did.
Interesting. Well, are you a fan of not so much the sequels, but they remade this movie, right? Because it wasn't an actual sequel.
Never seen one of them. There's about four. The Death Race reboot, like from 2008, and then that spawned three sequels, and I've never seen a single one of them. But then they actually came out with a sequel, a direct sequel to this by Roger Corman called Death Race 2050.
Oh, that's right.
And that's like starring Malcolm McDowell, produced by Roger Corman. I watched it once and just didn't hit the right, it's like, and again, my buddy, again, it's like, oh, it was amazing. And I'm like, I've changed. It's like going back to some of your favorites and watching them again, like from an adult, an adult perspective, decades later, where you're like, why did I like this movie? And then you're going, well, obviously the movie didn't change. It must be me.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that we could say that about, and they just strike you different. Maybe the first time you see it, you're in a certain mood and a certain age, and then they hit you different when you grow up a little bit. But that's right. I have not seen 2050, and then the remakes they did, I have yet to see. So I was wondering if anybody has seen them, if they're any good.
Yeah, and other than I know, the first new Death Race movie from 2008. Just researching my history, I know David Carradine has a cameo as Frankenstein, so I don't know how that plays out.
And that's with what is it, Jason Stratham? I think he's in the 2008.
I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
Someone else will have to let us know about that one.
Yeah. Oh, the rebels are at it again. The rebels are going after Frankenstein. Frankenstein.
Which we've now learned from our the official government response is it's the French. We're being attacked by the French.
And that's part of the propaganda. James Hellier mentions, yes, they have Jason Stratham. That can't be any good. Well, he's doing pretty well for himself. I just don't happen to find his movies that entertaining.
It'd be for me the same. It's the same with watching all this campy stuff in the 70s is I just love it to bits. And then it'd be the same like when they tried to reboot Godzilla and they tried to, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie especially, where Godzilla he doesn't breathe fire, he doesn't, fight. And I'm like, no, it's like, look, I love I love Godzilla when I was a kid. I knew full well it was a man in a costume doing karate moves, and that's what's great about it. Don't change that. But you can't, make those modern sensibilities and make everything true to life. I go, that's not what a movie's for. A movie should, be serious and full of fantasy and creative thought. But I want to escape from real life. I don't want to sit down and watch more of it.
Right. That's the basis for movies as entertainment. You don't necessarily need them all to be real life because we all have enough of it, I think. We want to escape to the movies. So we all noticed he drugged her. He put a little pill in her drink and drugged her.
This was interesting. I know that's a model crashing into there, but they didn't use the standard, aircraft disappears behind a hill giant explosion. You actually see the thing blow up. So that was pretty impressive.
And it was the French. It was the French. So I'm sensing, let's see if the audience here is as well. You sense that Frankenstein is not all that he was portrayed to be at the beginning of the movie. And maybe he has ulterior motives and he drugged her for a reason. What's going on with him?
Yeah, it's hard to see, especially since I've watched this movie about 4 or 5 times
Yeah,
this week.
exactly.
With it's like, yeah, to separate is like, wait, what part are we in? Do we know everything yet? Because we're
Right.
finding out that Frankenstein is not Frankenstein. He's a replacement. And then then we try to figure out the whole backstory. Is he a secret agent? Is he part of the rebellion? Is he another faction coming here to take over? What's the real story? And we'll never know.
But we do get a sense that he's not the monster that they claimed he was, and the cutthroat monster they claimed he was. Well, harks back to the original story of Frankenstein, the Frankenstein's monster. Everyone claims it's a monster, but the real monster is the humans in the story, not the actual monster.
Yep, we love a good pun. Here's the hand grenade.
I get it, hand grenade. Is it the holy hand grenade? But yeah, now we have another dimension to Frankenstein's life. And maybe his goal all along was not winning the race, but what that represented and offered him to meet the president.
But I'm still just watching all the landscape, trying to figure out familiar where are they points, because this looks like all the area where I used to go dirt bike riding when I was a kid.
What part of California was that?
That's all, from Southern California. So we're up in the this is what Soledad Canyon. So we'd have to travel out of the valley, heading out towards like Palmdale.
Okay. Yeah, because this does look a little bit deserty. And Palmdale, Lancaster, that central area is
Yep.
very deserty.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing with Southern California. Just depending which direction you go, you could go to the beach, you could go up to the mountains for skiing, you could go into the desert.
Yeah.
We had it all back there.
Yeah, I spent my summers out in California a lot after my parents divorced, out in the San Jose, Los Gatos area. We went all over. And unfortunately, what you guys hear in the news about the Pacific Palisades in LA, it's bad. The whole area up there, which is beautiful up in those hills, is unfortunately burning. It's all burning.
That's what I've got to get done today, and I've got to check in with still have my dad and my sister still live there in the valley, so I got to check in. They're just waiting for evacuation orders.
Oh my gosh.
And you're already again seeing conflicting information. We had my brother who 2 years ago moved out from the California. He now lives in Tennessee, but he was just reporting that the home they used to own in Southern California was under evacuation orders. And then my sister had to correct them and say, no, somebody just triggered an all county evacuation. So all of Los Angeles County was told to evacuate. They were like, nope, that's wrong. So my sister had to correct my brother, going, nope, that hasn't got to us yet. We're fine.
Well, let's just hope that they get out and it's not too bad in their area.
Yeah, and there has also been a lot of footage showing the Hollywood sign on fire, and that was also did not happen.
That's not happening. So we just saw Joe blow up. The holy hand grenade.
Yep. But he's carried his hand grenade through this entire movie for a certain purpose, and now what's he going to do?
What's he going to do? So believe it or not, wow, we're reaching the end of the movie. So big round of applause. Frankenstein won.
Is it difficult to win when you're the last and only survivor?
The only survivor. Isn't it interesting? The president is still claiming the French is the enemy. This is like 1984, dystopian 1984. We're at war with Eurasia. No, we're not at war with Eurasia. So apparently, in this world, we're at war with the French.
Yep. Here we see Thomasina Paine came out to finish the job herself. And ooh, what a twist.
Yeah, that was a fun twist. We got them in cahoots now. Well, that's how you take out the president, I guess, if you don't have the holy hand grenade. How many points was that? How many points to take out the president?
The real question. How many points do you get for the president?
Yep. Oh, dear friends of hers. Now they're just her dear friends.
Yep. And are we assuming he's now the president? Is that how the elections work?
Yep.
That follows more the rules of Thunderdome.
Right. Well, he says he's going to bring back free elections, so you kind of figure if there's no elections, then what? Whoever kills the president is now the president? This would have been a fun movie if they had picked up the sequel right after this. Then if she's no longer a rebel, who's the rebel? Who are the rebels?
And here's this guy fighting. He's like, hey, don't put me out of a job.
Right. So Alex Peacock comments, so was there an election or did Frankenstein take power by right of combat? Yeah, by right of combat. Because we get the sense that there was no elections before. Oh, Junior, yes, we love it. We love the violence. See, we love the violence. That was great.
And there we have it.
There we have it. A little end commentary.
Yep. If nobody remembers how Y2K turned out, here you go. The year 2000.
Yep. Y2K. What a letdown. Okay. So there we have it. Death Race 2000, a classic from 1975. And let's have Any comments? Any last comments on this movie? What'd you guys think? How about you, Matt? What'd you think seeing it again?
It still holds up. Love it. It's corny. It's goofy. It's everything I want from a movie.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
Eric says that
still
was a great watch, a good classic, great pick. Calbot says a fun ride. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining me today.
this was a good
This has
time.
been a good adventure. All right. So, what do we have here? Alex Peacock says, good, fun, silly movie. Miss Swift says it's a classic. James Hellier says it worked, but I prefer Rollerball, which has a little more meat to it. That's another classic. Eric says, and Matt, you did a great job. Had some great movie facts. Good job. Yeah,
Okay,
good
thank you
job.
very much, everyone.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of you coming out today. We're going to do it again next week. I'm lining up as many of you that want to join. If you just want to shout out, let me know if you want to join in as a co-host. I still don't know how this is all going to play out, whether we'll just maybe rotate people or if I'll have someone that wants to do it full time with me. We will just kind of wait and see. So next week, let's see, next week, what movie are we going to do? We are going to do Primal Fear from 1996. And we had been talking about it quite a bit, I think, in the last couple months, making a lot of mention of it, but it is a really good thriller. It should be readily available in the streaming services. That's it. Alex Peacock, 1996, Primal Fear. Edward Norton. And that handsome devil right there, what is his name? I cannot remember that actor's name. It is escaping me. But anyway, I hope you all join me next week. I'm still getting the hang of all this software. I want to add a timer up in the corner so we kind of count down so we don't lose track of the movie. Oh, Richard Gere, thank you so much, chat. Thank you, Richard Gere. Well, I'm still working out the kinks of this, but we're moving along, and you guys have been so supportive. We will continue to bring some professional amateur entertainment for you guys. As long as you guys are here, we're going to keep doing it. So once again, Matt, thank you so much for joining. And I hope you want to do it again.
Yep, I think we should, we'll set up either draw names for a hat or play around a tag, you're it.
Sure. So just contact me. We'll set something up and we'll go from there. What I don't want to do is just have me here, so you guys have to stare at me the whole time and listen to me talk. If it happens, it happens. So we'll just go with the flow, guys. What do you say? I'm all for it. So, all right, Matt, why don't you close out the chat and we'll sign off after you do that.
Okay. Look, everybody is up. Yeah. Great to have anyone show up here. And looking forward to keeping Sunday Movie Club going. It's been enjoyable, very enjoyable thing to look forward to.
Exactly. All right. See you all next time.
Goodbye.